This video is going to be a little bit different because I'm talking about the buyer broker representation agreement, which is going to be mandatory come August 17th. So if you're working with the buyer's agent, you should expect to get this form. So this video is going to be a little bit different because I'm going to be talking about the buyer broker representation agreement. Not fun stuff. It's kind of boring, but stay tuned because you need to know about this form. Form is mandatory and going to be required as of August 17th. Most brokerages, or a lot of brokerages, have had like a buyer broker representation form available, and some states have even required this form for years. So depending on where you're moving from, you may be familiar with this, but as of August 17th, say for instance, you're looking to relocate here to St. Johns County, I will be sending you this form, and it'll need to be signed before we can go and look at any properties together. There's even a form like if it was just one single property, say for instance, agents who pay for leads on Zillow, and say you may only work for that person one time, they want you to go open a door, they still have to have that paperwork signed before they can open the door for that property. So I'm going to go ahead and post this form here so you can kind of follow along with me, and we can look at it together. All right, if you're new here, my name is Melissa Anderson, and I am your St. Johns County, Florida realtor. And on this channel, I try to bring you videos all about relocating here, what it's like living in Florida, things, homes in St. Johns County, anything that you can expect or would want to know if you're looking to move here. So welcome. All right, let's get started. And again, just like I do my monthly stats, market stats, where I post those and you follow along with me, I'm going to use my paper, and let's follow along and look at this together. And then of course, as we're going through this, if you have any questions at all, I'm going to put my contact information right here. You can reach out, call, text, email, or you can use the comment section below to leave me a question, and I'll be happy to get back to you. This agreement is designed to allow the buyer to engage in a qualified licensed professional for the purpose of viewing a property, receiving contract negotiation and advocacy services throughout the entire real estate offer and purchase process for the types of the property described below. And I just want to pause here and also say that this is also kind of a protection piece for the agent, so that people don't, say for instance, if we didn't have this agreement in place, and say I've spent, hours upon hours looking at properties, taking video for you, we've done calls, we've done Zoom calls, we've done emails, we've done text, we've spent all this time together, and then you found another property and you use that agent after I've spent hours and hours. So this just kind of says like, hey, I'm going to be working with you as my buyer agent, and I'm only going to be working with you. I'm not going to be, utilizing the services of multiple agents. And it goes to say too, like with me signing this, like I'm dedicated to you to find you the right property and to make sure that I'm doing everything that I can to find you the right property and give you the best customer service available. So, all right, number one, properties. This is just saying like, hey, these are the properties that we're going to be looking at. And for, is it residential, land, commercial, or other, and in what geographic area? Two, the length of the agreement. So say for instance, a lot of my buyers that are looking to move to this area, we may be working together, sometimes up to a year. So it's up to you, or maybe you have a time frame like, oh, yep, we're moving. We're going to be finding something within 3 months, 6 months. So we'll just kind of put that there. Will automatically end on whatever date or upon closing or termination of the then pending transaction. Agency disclosure. The agency relationship between the buyer and broker determines how the broker will work on the buyer's behalf. Broker's agency relationship with buyers disclosed and documented in a separate disclosure form. 4, broker's efforts. So the broker will exercise good faith efforts to locate and present suitable properties to the buyer, to you, tour and prepare detailed analysis of the specific properties per your request. So like say you've narrowed it down to a couple of properties and like, hey, what is that market looking like in that neighborhood where I'm looking? What would be a good offer for that? What are the prices that these properties are closing at in this neighborhood? Help buyer prepare, negotiate, and secure a contract to purchase one or more properties. Cooperate with any real estate licensees, working with the seller to facilitate and complete the buyer's purchase of the property and or perform other services as needed and requested by the buyer. So, and then number 5, where it says for best experience, the buyer is encouraged to be accompanied by a broker on buyer's first visit to the property and to conduct all negotiations for the property in good faith. So this also applies to, like, say, new construction. If you're looking at new construction, a lot of those builders, in order for the agent to get paid and to negotiate on your behalf, require that the agent be with you at your first appointment. So just keep that in mind. And obviously, with me working with so many people that are relocating here to this area, it could be like, hey, I want like the boots on the ground for you, doing all the initial recon and getting all of this information. And I'm happy to go in and get video. We can do FaceTime of these properties. And then once we've narrowed it down, a lot of people, then they're like, okay, we're going to fly in and look at this property in person. So where it says, or they're encouraged to be accompanied to the first visit of the property, but that sometimes always isn't the case. Or it could be too that maybe you've already flown in and we've looked at a lot of neighborhoods, we've looked at some houses, you've narrowed it down. So when a home pops up in the neighborhood that you know that you're set on, and we do a FaceTime, we do a video, maybe it's no question, like, okay, we're going to go ahead and put in an offer. So just various scenarios apply based on your situation. All right, so buyer understands that signing more than one buyer broker representation agreement for any overlapping period of time could expose the buyer to liability for paying additional fees. Obviously, say you were working with another agent, and then you came to me, and then I'm the one who put in the offer. That other agent, if they had a buyer broker agreement in place, could say, hey, like, you're overstepping your boundaries, like that was, I put in all of that work. So that agent would probably reach out to my broker. So you just don't want to do that. And I typically, every time someone reaches out to me, one of the first questions I ask are you already working with an agent here? Do you already have a buyer broker agreement? Because I don't want to step on anybody's toes either. All right. Buyer is not a party to any active exclusive buyer broker representation agreements. Buyer is a party to blank, insert number, active, non-exclusive. So that needs to be 0. All right, broker fee. So here's where it gets a little bit tricky, and this is part of the reason why they're requiring this buyer broker representation agreement. And that is because later in the year, they're going to not have any of the commissions listed in the MLS. Okay, so we can still see, that doesn't mean that commissions are going away. That just means they're not going to be listed in the MLS. So, and this all kind of boils down to the fact that that compensation fee, that commission fee is negotiable. It always has been negotiable. I don't think it's come across that way. Obviously, you may have seen like the lawsuits for that. But that has always been negotiable. The standard had been like 3%. So like 3% to buyer agent, 3% to the other seller agent, for a total of 6%. However, both of those numbers are totally negotiable. And if you look in the MLS today, you'll see like 2.5%. You'll still see some 3%, but you'll also see like 2.5%. You'll see 2%. You'll see 1.5%. But yeah, but it boils down to like, hey, this is not going to be in the MLS. So number 6, where it says broker fee, this is basically just saying, like me personally, I'm not going to require my buyers that I'm working with to pay me a fee to work with them. I'm going to, if you look here at the collecting broker fee from the seller, continue to do that. So say for instance, we find out, like, we've been working together for a while, you found a home and the seller says zero, I'm not paying the buyer's agent anything. Well, then I am going, like, it's zero in there, I'm still going to request to be compensated. So where it says collecting broker fee from the seller, credit to buyer at closing, the buyer may choose to negotiate that the broker fee be paid in whole and part by the seller through a seller credit to buyer at closing. At buyer's instruction, broker will write this request into the buyer's office offer to purchase the property. So that goes to, so let's go back. So on part 6, broker fee, this is just kind of breaking down how my commission, how my compensation will be paid for working with you. Typically still from the seller. Like, I'm not going to request that the buyer pay my fee. It's always been the other end. So this says buyer agrees to pay the broker as provided below, the broker fee for any properties involving the broker's efforts. No broker fee is due if broker's efforts involve only locating and presenting suitable properties for consideration. So if we're not closing on anything, if we haven't found you a property that you're going to be moving into, there's nothing to pay. The broker fee is not set by law and is fully negotiable. The broker fee shall be due and payable upon successful closing. If the buyer enters into an agreement to purchase any property within blank number of days following the expiration of earlier cancellation of this agreement, then the buyer shall pay the broker fee to broker upon closing. The broker fee shall be in U.S. currency and paid at that time as a condition of closing. So just say, for instance, we did not update this form. We still close on a property, say like 5 days after this. It, would still be needing to be compensated, a commission to be paid. So the broker fee is blank, which is typically a percentage of the gross purchase price of the property or exactly blank amount of dollars. And again, even though these aren't going to be listed on the MLS, if it's already set, if they've already have that commission listed on the broker website, then we'll just put that number in there. So say if it's still 2.5% or 3%, then that's what will be listed because that's what the seller has agreed to pay. So collecting broker fee from the seller, you can do it A, as a credit to buyer at the closing, B, direct seller to broker compensation, which buyer authorizes the broker to request that the broker fee be paid in whole or part by the seller to EXP at closing. And that will be in a separate compensation agreement. So buyer understands that broker cannot communicate with the seller without first receiving the seller's broker's permission to do so. So that would just mean, A, instead of requesting the credit to buyer at closing, I'm going to do direct seller to broker compensation. So any amounts paid by the seller toward the broker fee shall reduce the amount of the broker fee to be paid by the buyer. Broker shall show all property listings that fit buyer's criteria unless directed differently. So again, if there's anything, we can put additional terms here. Other buyers, buyer acknowledges that broker may represent multiple buyers interested in purchasing the same property as the buyer. So that just says, hey, like, I'm working with multiple people who are looking to relocate here to St. Johns County. They more than likely or may be interested in these same properties. Like in their search, like when I set up a specific search for people based on their criteria, they may be getting the same property. There may be overlap there. Cancellation. Either party may cancel this agreement effective upon delivery of written notice to the other party unless the buyer is under contract to purchase the property. All right. So hopefully this wasn't too confusing. But again, even now, like as part of, it's going to be absolutely mandatory that we have these signed as of August 17th. But my brokerage, EXP Realty, we're already being asked to go ahead and start having these in place. And but yeah, so if you're looking to buy, you're looking to move here to St. Johns County, I just wanted you to be aware that this is going to be a new form that we'll be going over and asking you to sign. So if you have any questions at all about this form, again, you can use my contact information right here, or you can use the comments below to ask, and I'll be happy to reach out. If you stayed all the way to the end, go ahead and give this video a like, and you can share it. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.